just joining in, go ahead and look at those 2 links and enter in that information. And then Kelly will be talking more about those things as we go through the webinar.
And I believe Kyle's putting the link in again.
Excellent.
For somebody. Into the chat, if somebody could put that link in again. And if you did do the InBody, you can go off. I would go off of that because that's going to be taking in your muscle mass. And so that's going to be more accurate. And there you are again. Thank you, Kyle, for adding that in. All right. Appreciate it. It just makes it more personable to you. So when we do get to that point of talking about your basal metabolic rate and calories, it's going to be more specific for you because your calories are going to be different than mine, or mine are going to be different than Kyle's. So it really gives you a better guideline.
Awesome. And while you guys are looking at that, we'll kind of continue on a little bit. So again, welcome to everybody. It's great to have you here to dive into our nutrition webinar today. This webinar is part of our what's called our Fitness Transformation Challenge, which is a 10-week program. And we are currently in week 2. So we thought this would be a great time to share some insight on nutrition. So if you could, in the chat, just give us a thumbs up if you are taking part in the full challenge. Just love to see who's on the call today. And if you just popped in for this webinar just to learn more about gaining muscle and losing fat, we're so glad you're here too. But before we get into today's topic, there's a few housekeeping items I'll just go over real quickly here. So this webinar will be recorded and emailed to everyone who is in attendance. So if you do need to leave the webinar early or want to revisit the content, the recording will be uploaded to our Yammer community and to our YouTube channel. The slide deck will also be available for you to review as well. And when it comes to our webinars, we really do want to engage and interact with you as much as we can throughout the course of the presentation. So please use the chat to add comments or ask questions. We'll try and respond throughout. And if we don't get to your question, we will certainly contact you individually. So I will now turn it over to my team member and my fellow fitness transformer, Kelly.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn, for sharing those links earlier, and to those attending for estimating your basal metabolic rate, as well as your weight in kilograms. As Carolyn said, I'll touch on those more specifically in a bit, but those 2 numbers are very significant in calculating what will assist us with how to gain muscle while losing fat. So to give you a brief background, I have a degree in nutrition from the University of Minnesota, but I'm not a registered dietitian, meaning I'm able to consult with the general healthy population in regards to nutritional information. And I've had decades of nutritional counseling experience. I started when I was 2. And so my roles were in corporate fitness, wellness, and managing St. Paul Farrell's, which some people may know as it's an extreme body shaping program. So I really have a passion for the role nutrition has in overall wellness. I'm going to do my best to answer any questions, so feel free to add into the chat as we proceed, and my colleagues may interject if I miss anything, and I will also be certain to follow up with any answers I'm unsure of to ensure you receive the best possible information available. All right, so who's ready to get this body recomposition party started? Go ahead and on the bottom of your screen, pick an emoji on the reactions tab to get started. It doesn't even have to be relevant, just something fun to do. We don't ever get to use this very much, this feature with the meetings we attend. So just wanted to give you this opportunity to express yourself. So go crazy. Okay, thank you for participating with that. As we go, body recomposition is the process of gaining muscle and losing fat simultaneously. So let's isolate the 2. To lose fat, your body needs to be in a caloric deficit. This deficit forces your body to use pre-existing fat stores for fuel. And to gain muscle, your body needs to be in a caloric surplus, typically. And this surplus provides the energy your body requires to repair and build stronger muscles. Given this, losing fat, which is the caloric deficit, at the same time as gaining muscle, the caloric surplus, seems impossible. But we are going to dig deeper into the science of it and explain how it is possible. So to start, let's focus on how to lose fat. So to lose fat, one must be in a caloric deficit, which is consuming fewer calories than you expend or burn. When you're in a caloric deficit, your body doesn't have the calorie it needs as fuel. So it starts breaking down parts of itself for energy requirements. And the goal that we all would love is that your body would mostly pull from primarily fat stores. Though, depending on how you're training, it's also going to break down muscle. So when you're in a caloric deficit, your body will pull from both its fat stores and existing muscles for energy. How do we achieve a caloric deficit then? It's simple, to simplify, it's not always simple, but to simplify, if you want to lose 1 pound in a week, which would be 3,500 calories, you need to create a caloric deficit of 500 calories per day by 1, either consuming 500 fewer calories, 2, burning 500 more calories, or 3, a combination of the two. So to give you a better understanding of what 500 calories looks like, it equates to the number of calories in a big gulp Mountain Dew, or the estimated calories to run 5 miles. Therefore, it is significantly more time efficient to consume 500 fewer calories than it is to burn. I think most people could easily drink a big gulp Mountain Dew, and would take quite a while to run those 5 miles. So that's kind of just putting it into perspective. But combining the two is the most sustainable and successful for most. But for now, we are going to focus in on diet alone. And by diet, I'm referring to what you eat or your caloric intake rather than a fad diet. The goal here is not to aim for lifelong nutritional habits. And the best way to do this is through eating real foods. Learning to eat in a sustainable way will set you up for long-term success. So eating mostly unprocessed foods such as meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and plant proteins. There's a lot of different types of plant proteins, and we've had a webinar on this that we'll share at the end where you can find that. But that's like lentils, quinoa, chia seeds, nutritional yeast, even broccoli, kale, and sweet corn have protein in them compared to some other vegetables with 5 grams per 100 grams. So those are also options. You can get your protein in through plant-based if you choose to do so. And those are all great examples of nutrient-dense foods that are lower in calories compared to processed foods. So you tend to be fuller sooner and longer. Real food is key to creating a sustainable caloric deficit. So most people can easily overeat chips, crackers, other processed items, but a plate of broccoli with all the fiber it has is much tougher to overeat than a bag of chips. Now, what you eat will be 80 to 90% of the equation for losing body fat. The other 10 to 20% is exercise. We're going to look into the effects exercise has in the body recomposition and muscular gains. All right, so if you want to gain muscle, you need to focus on 3 things: weight training, nutrition, and sleep. Weight training, it is the key to lift to the point of failure. I say this in all my classes. The only place you really are aiming for failure is the gym. And you want to create that failure so you create those micro tears in the muscles. Once this occurs, the body sends nutrients and blood flow to the areas to heal. And this is how you gain your musculature. We'll get more into that later. But as we touched on, nutrition is the major contributor to body recomposition. You need your body to be burning more calories than you consume and provide your body with enough protein to rebuild its muscle. Then there is sleep, one of the most overlooked components to muscle gain. And I think some people are going to get mad at me because you're going to find out you really do need or should aim for 8 hours of sleep. So during sleep, our energy consumption lowers and it enables pituitary gland to release human growth hormone, which is really essential for muscle repair. So it pushes the carbohydrates into your muscle cells so they have enough energy to use the amino acids, which is the protein from your diet, to build new muscle cells and to repair broken down tissues. Getting less than 8 hours of sleep releases higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol. And this is going to inhibit muscle repair and can make your body hold on to its fat stores. So studies have shown not enough sleep impairs physical functioning, peak power output, so even just your workouts alone will suffer, and cognitive capabilities. It also can prolong injury recovery. They've had studies on that following that. And so it's important for injury recovery to get enough sleep. We're going to put this all together by discussing how to lose fat while gaining muscle. To get a better understanding of how to lose fat while gaining muscle, we're going to discuss the 3 routes for calories. Calories you consume have 3 routes. They can be burned for fuel, they can be stored as fat, or they can rebuild muscle. So burning for fuel, you burn a large number of calories just to perform basic life-sustaining functions such as breathing, regulating body temperature, hormone control, digestion, and so forth. So this does not include the calories you use walking to your car, your desk, or other activities, whether they're planned or not, gardening, exercise. The other route is storing as fat, and this occurs when you consume more calories than you burn. Lastly, calories can be routed to rebuilding muscle. So calories stored in fat cells can act as required energy to rebuild muscles when you are in a caloric deficit, which is usually what people would love their calories to go. Now that we have the basis for caloric paths, let's dig into actionable steps for losing fat while gaining muscle. The first 2 action items, of course, regard nutrition. This is a really important part. It's sustaining a caloric deficit while consuming enough protein. So those are the 2 big keys, being a caloric deficit, but keeping that protein up. So this is where your basal metabolic rate and body weight in kilograms that you calculated with Carolyn at the beginning of this webinar comes into play. So to sustain a caloric deficit, you want to be around your BMR, depending on your activity level. And since the calculator you use does not include exercise or daily activities, you're going to be in a deficit from moving. And that's for everyone actually with their basal metabolic rate. And if you drop below your BMR, your body will start to tap into your muscles for energy, and you have the risk of decreasing your metabolism or slowing down that metabolism. Now, this is a very general rule going off of trying to hit your BMR right around there. And I'll get into activity level in a bit. But every person, every body is different. And so we have to take genetics, muscle mass, hormones, stress levels, sleep, hydration, and alcohol consumption into play as well, which is not always calculated into this formula. So we all know that person who eats everything and naturally stays slender, while another person may really struggle with losing just 1 pound. So it does help to really know that muscle mass when calculating your BMR. But for the most part, if you're going off the general BMR, very active people, such as endurance athletes, let's say you're training for a marathon, half marathon, or like construction workers, bodybuilders, you're going to want to be above your BMR since you're burning a significant amount of active calories. And then I recommend MyFitnessPal, which Isaac will get into in a bit later, because this will track everything, the calories, your protein, and exercise. But for now, we will concentrate on how much protein we should be consuming to gain muscle, or at the very least, prevent from losing muscle. So protein is the #1 nutrient for creating new tissue. When you're cutting out calories to create a caloric deficit, do not cut them from protein sources. Studies have shown that participants can gain muscle even in a caloric deficit as long as they eat enough protein. So the general guideline where you took your body weight into kilograms, divided by 0.454, that's going to give you your weight in kilograms. And the guidelines are right at 0.8 to 1.2 is the general, going from general kind of sedentary people to 1.2 for people that are very active. So for the most part, I would suggest 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. You're going to take that kilogram number we calculated and aim for the 1 gram of protein every day. If you're very active, extremely active, you could go more towards the 1.2. But you want that upper limit of the upper limit is 250 grams of protein. Most people, I should say, generally do not need more than 250 grams of protein if you're over 250 pounds. Consuming more than 250 grams of protein for the majority of people is unnecessary since you excrete extra protein through urine. And I had a college professor, and this always sticks with me, of saying like, it's very expensive urine for those who consume those expensive protein shakes, protein bars, things like that. If you're getting way too much protein, you're just excreting it. So it can become expensive depending how you're getting your protein needs met. So this next slide is going to show some high protein, lower caloric food ideas. Oftentimes this is a struggle since a lot of higher protein can be higher fat or higher calories. And if you're trying to cut calories, keep that protein up, it can be a tough balance. So it helps to think protein first and build your meals around this macronutrient. Get protein in with every meal and snack. The slide shows some great high protein foods that can take your protein intake up significantly. You want to aim for lean meats, low-fat dairy, lower sugar protein powders, or protein bars. Typically for bars, I say under 8 grams of sugar is good. And if it has fiber, that's even better. It's going to make you feel fuller longer. Now, while this slide doesn't list nuts or peanut butter due to its higher caloric content, they are good options in small doses. And I am very biased, however, since peanut butter is my all-time favorite food, but I really have to portion it out before eating it, or it's easy to overconsume. But that fiber and the salt and the protein, I find it really helps filling, or putting a little bit of peanut butter on an apple so you get that balance. Now, the issues of not getting enough protein. Protein is really useful in keeping your muscle tissue healthy, which is responsible for numerous things, such as improving your blood glucose regulation, fighting off disease, keeping you mobile, boosting your metabolism, and naturally keeping fat off. So getting into the science of protein, it is made up of 20 amino acids, but your body is only able to make 11 of them. Therefore, the other 9 amino acids need to come from food. And not getting enough amino acids from your diet can slow down cell function and make it harder to lose weight, since one of the jobs of these cells is to turn off those hunger signals in your brain. And as I said before, it's okay if you're vegetarian, you can get all essential amino acids through plant-based proteins. So I could stay on this slide all day. In fact, you probably have already forgotten what specific topic I'm discussing right now. So to recap, the first 2 actionable steps for losing fat while gaining muscle are sustaining a caloric deficit and consuming enough protein. The third actionable step is strength training. So strength training controls body fat, since muscle tissues are highly metabolic, meaning they allow more calorie burning than any other tissue in the body. So increased muscle mass has more long-term results than cardio alone. It also increases metabolic rates, improves bone health, and decreases your risk of injury. As I mentioned before, I cannot stress enough the importance of lifting to fatigue to create those micro tears. This fitness transformation challenge we have created will give you all those tools to do just that with proper form and with your builds, sets, and then also rest. And Isaac's going to cover this more in a bit, but please reach out to any of us with questions or if you need guidance, because this would be a whole presentation on its own. And so we also have the Fitness Transformation Challenge recordings on our YouTube page if you're not in person for these classes or want more information on the body or the fitness transformation challenges. So basically, you want to strength train 3 times a week to gain muscle and allowing a full day of rest so your body can rebuild those muscle micro tears. And if you are lifting heavy but not gaining muscle, diet is the likely culprit. Going back to that protein and calories so you don't pull from muscle stores for fuel. So this brings us to measuring success. How do you know if you are gaining muscle and losing fat? I'm so glad you asked because that's the next slide. We have a variety of ways to measure success. Some people are content going off with how they feel, while others really want more of the hardcore data that proves it. So first of all, I suggest breaking up with your scale. The scale does not tell you the entire story. So go off of these following things instead. And the scale, as you know, like when you're first gaining muscle or lifting, you may gain weight as you're going through that recomposition. And it could be muscle mass, water weight, there's so many things. So oftentimes I hear people start weight training and they gain weight. And so then they stop strength training because they're like, I gained weight. So that's the scale is just kind of, I'm not a fan, but we'll get into that. So one of the things is circumference measurements, and this could also be how your clothes feel or fit. So with circumference measurements, any of the staff can do it, or you can do your own. Typically, you'll do bicep, chest, abs, hips. So just seeing the measurements going down. And typically, if your biceps are going up, most people aren't gaining weight in their arms. It's that muscle mass. Like maybe more the core. You're feeling like, all right, my pants feel better. You got to put away those pandemic pants that stretch. It's really tough for me in fitness wearing all elastic pants. It's great. My pants always fit. So then there's progress photos. Now this, it's up to you and the person. Minimum 10 weeks, unless you really think you look different at week 5 of being consistent. And you want to set yourself up for psychological success. So I'm personally not a fan of this, but many people are motivated by seeing the results. So you really just have to know yourself, your personality, your triggers. I'm the same way with the scale. I don't want my outlook or confidence to be determined by the number. But others do use the scale of a check-in and motivator. So you really just have to know yourself and be true to yourself. Then there's body fat analysis. And this is like the in-body where you know your body's fat, water weight, all that. And I'll let Isaac talk more about that later on. But that's the most data, most intuitive information that you could receive. And I think the most important thing is, how do you feel? Are you stronger? I always say these non-scale victories, oh, I feel good. I'm able to keep up with my kids. I'm running that, I don't have to stop as much when I run. But yeah, how do you feel? Are you lifting heavier weights? Are you lifting more reps? Maybe you have better form, better range of motion. Are you more energetic or happier? So that's really the key, I think, is with going how you feel. So in wrapping this portion up, I want you to remember that results really do take time and consistency. So be patient, stick to a regimen that is sustainable long-term, and a program that keeps you motivated to keep your gains. You want to give yourself grace. Do not compare yourself to others' results. There's a reason that this fitness transformation is 10 weeks and not 2-week program. It's also really the building blocks and creating a lifelong habit. So this is not about looks. This is about your wellness and well-being. I'm going to turn it over to Isaac, who's going to discuss the valuable resources and upcoming events. I will stick around for questions afterwards, but to transition, let's give Isaac a big welcome using some more reaction keys, and feel free to get creative in this serious world of meetings.
Thank you, Kelly, for that. That was awesome information. Thanks. Like all that stuff is going to be super valuable throughout this fitness transformation program to get that extra edge, that extra, if you're really focusing on changing your body composition, all that nutrition information is going to be so valuable. So thank you so much for Kelly. I think we should give Kelly a round of applause personally for all that and show the emotions with the emojis of that. Because I'm just going over some resources and some awesome daily events that were upcoming here in the Twin Cities. It's awesome to see that participant number as far as everyone that's here, almost 60 people. So that means we're touching the lives of a lot of people with this fitness transformation challenge. And personally, that is awesome to see. Love to see those numbers. So let's just quickly go over some of these resources that we're referring to. A lot of you maybe are already using some sort of tracker, regardless of it's a nutrition tracker, a food tracker. But the resource that we found, the app that we think is like all encompassing, the all-in-one tracker is that MyFitnessPal. You can input it's going to calculate your entire caloric expenditure throughout the day, as well as your intake, because it has that BMR calculation into its equation. And it also connects with your Apple Watch, Garmin, Fitbit, whatever you are using to help really give you a pretty darn good estimate as to what what you need, because it also allows you to enter your goals at the start of when you're like signing up for the app. It'll let you kind of highlight, okay, I want to build muscle. Here's a plan to help you follow day to day to do just that. And obviously the app's going to give you great recommendations and whatnot, but we are always here. Kyle, Carolyn, Kelly, and I will always be here to help you understand the results, make adjustments to your plan. We're the ones kind of creating some of these fitness transformation workouts. We're going to have a pretty good idea as to what that energy expenditure will be throughout your program and what the focus is with the programs that we have written. I don't know how to say that. So, but sign up on that link there on the MyFitnessPal on this slide. You're going to have access to all these slides. You'll get an email. So that's also another resource that you can use is this actual presentation, this slide deck, because you'll have all the information that Kelly went over, plus some of these things here. And then our Healthier Together YouTube channel, if you haven't already, is going to help you keep up to date with the fitness transformation workouts. I'm putting some of the workouts that we're doing onto the YouTube channel. I know Kelly and Carolyn are, and it also has over 1,000 workout videos saved, ranging from the high intensity interval training to yoga. So if you want to just switch it up a little bit, part of my program is I'm actually going to have you do like a YouTube workout as part of your homework for the program. So just keep using that resource. And also, if you're like wondering, Kelly mentioned about sleep, what are some things I could do to get better sleep? We have previous webinars saved covering a variety of wellness topics, including sleep. So take a look at all those. There's also nutrition specific ones as well. If you want to kind of learn more about the whole nutrition wellness aspects to this throughout this program. And once again, that link at the very bottom of the slide will take you directly to that YouTube channel. And upcoming events. So I wanted to touch on some of the upcoming events here in the Twin Cities, especially with some of those June yoga classes. We're doing these high intensity workouts. We're doing this strength training. It's good to like switch it up a little bit. So I really wanted to highlight some of those yoga classes because that's going to help you get mobility, flexibility, help you recover, add some balance into the program as well. So OHQ not every Wednesday, June 7th and 21st are going to offer a yoga class at noon. And then for Rice Creek people, we'll be doing an outdoor yoga class with Carolyn. And notice that's on Tuesday. We normally don't have classes on Tuesday. So take a look at that and join Carolyn outside, just outside the fitness center here. And she'll give you a great class, and that's at 11:30. And then Mounds View every Thursday, except for this next Thursday, as we have another webinar. Join Kelly or Carolyn in the yoga there. And I also provided a link for a SharePoint site that kind of takes you to other links that are going on in the Twin Cities, as well as webinars and events just like this. And our wellness screenings, those are all going to be taking place in the wellness centers. You can see the dates and times of those. So if you haven't already, take a look at those, sign up for those. It's an awesome thing that we're able to provide at this point. So take advantage of that. And the sign up link is at the bottom of that slide as well. And then PRL is going to be having a blood drive in the Red Fox room on Thursday, June 15th, from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And there's also the link there to register for that. Be sure to enter that code, and that's going to take you directly to the correct registration link when you go to that site. I wouldn't recommend donating blood if you've done one of the fitness transformation workouts after that. So if you're going to donate blood, maybe do your workout first or the day before. So we don't want anyone passing out in our workouts either. So thanks everyone for coming. And we're going to open it up to questions now, if anyone has any questions for any of us.
This is great too, Carolyn. Yeah, for people in Mounds View, the fitness transformation class is in 10 minutes. So you guys can make it to class still that are at Mounds View. But yeah, you can feel free to turn on your mic if you have questions. I will send the deck over to everyone who registered or participated today. Feel free to reach out to me also at any time. You guys are pros. All right.
You gave them all the information they needed, Kelly, so they don't have any questions. Great.
Yeah, well, I guess so. And then this is also other ways to connect with us. So, and then in the questions, Doug asked, you showed a graph of protein levels for various animal products. Do you have a similar graph for plant-based foods? I don't, but I am going to find one. Good question. So I will look for a graph for the plant-based foods because that's becoming very more popular just for our environment, also cost effective. It tends to be cheaper. Some of the things like grains, beans, than some of the other things. So thank you. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, feel free to reach out, any of us with any questions. We're always happy to help you stay healthy. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you at one of our transformations or one of our live offerings, and have an excellent rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun, guys. Thanks.
Very informative.